So yes, your job tenure does influence your interviewer and even the dynamic of your interview. Because the simplest example here is if you have employment gaps, of course, they will raise some question marks for most interviewers. But the more interesting scenario I want to talk about here is what's the ideal job tenure of a candidate of the CV of a candidate, and that would be, in my experience, 5 years. And when I say in my experience, I say in my professional experience, and I'm saying both about business working relationships as well as staying in a job for 5 years, in a project for 5 years. I noticed, for example, one of my biggest failures that I have was staying in a project for longer than 5 years, for 6.5 years, I believe it was, when I should have definitely cut it off at 5 years. Or when I stay in a project for only 1 or 2 years, it means that I might that's not the right thing for me, or it might have been too transactional, right? Now, I'm not trying to say here that if you don't have those 5 years in each and every role you've been in, then you will never get any job, not by far. But I want you to understand the statistics here and how HR professionals look at these things, and especially if, this is especially for leadership roles. But given the expectations in today's marketplace, I would say it very much applies to most well-paid jobs. So these 5 years I found to be a very interesting indicator of a successful initiative. So how can you take advantage of this? Well, take a look at your CV in the first place, and some of you have a tendency to say you've worked 15 years in the same job, when in fact you've done multiple jobs during those 15 years. So maybe split those into segments of 5 years if you want. Or if you know that you're job hopping every 2 years, then be prepared, to have a performance accordingly during the job interview. I'm not saying it's necessarily a bad thing that you're job hopping much fast. Maybe you didn't find the right thing for you, but I'm telling you here how professionals look at these things. And if it's the statistic, that's what the statistic says, that 5 years is the ideal thing. So you should be prepared to tune up your performance accordingly. So last but not least, also, if you have access to your interviewer's LinkedIn profile, for example, try to see their CV as well. How long have been staying in their current role? How long have they been staying in their previous jobs? And try, to form an impression given this 5-year rule, if you want, as to, it might be useful for you as how to approach the conversation with them, or how you can set your expectations within this context. So I hope you found this useful.